Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I'm making for Yida as part of their custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen on YouTube. It's an act that we've actually reviewed before. Their name is Yellow. This song is titled No Light Club and we're going to listen through it from start to finish. And we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. More How Production and 112F Recording Studio present live session number 1. Such a fascinating theme immediately with the bass, the rim shots, and the slide guitar parts.
Let the killer go, roll dice and ride the boogie， 做一般的梦，剩一只白云长空。王老先生说，生命是最奢侈的漂流，漂浮才会动。
Music like this used to be very common in the early 20th century, in the 1920s, 30s, the swing here. I'm glad that it's continuing to thrive. 月光不懂白昼，夜太浓，覆水难收。白老太太说，幸福是最美丽的阴谋，这也带不走。 It's a phenomenal solo there. That is such clean playing on the guitar there. We aren't just doing major or minor scales there. We're exploring chromatics there. We're working with some bluesy and country elements there, whilst exploring modulations within those chord phrasings. It's really elegant. Kind of reminds me of Stevie Wonder on the vocals a little bit there, the charisma there, the way we move ourselves, everything like that, the sunglasses, you know. It's also just really elegant in the head voice. It's like we have a singer here who has no limiter and can basically do whatever they want. Lots of talent.
Tell me your Christmas tree, don't street who you wanna be. Let the killer go, roll dance and ride the boogie. 做一般的梦，剩一只白云长空。王老先生说，生命是最奢侈的漂流，漂浮才会动。花怕羞，
Oh man, that vocal fry.
夜太浓，覆水难收。白老太太说，幸福是最美丽的阴谋，再也带不走。
That's a hell of a badass microphone as well. Like, you look at that microphone, that's a beast of a thing. I don't know what that is, but I'm fascinated by it. So gangster, man. Oh, the organs.
当作一种美学，那些超乎现实的以为都太明显。今晚让我们愚昧一回。今晚我不想跟你说再见。
And how we managed to resolve to the note that the organ's playing that lower end there. We are just dancing on top of the harmonies. And the bend for effect there, man. Oh. Very, very different feel to it than previous live performances that I've seen from Yellow. I adore this. I think this is probably one of my favorite track from Yellow so far. I think they're an incredible vocalist. But also the band around them as well is so tight. They suit this genre of music so well, and just the charisma and the kinsmanship and chemistry between the members is really affable. 1112F recording studio live session project, Morehouse production, absolutely nailed it as well. Really satisfied with the way that they mixed and mastered things and captured things in a live performance. You had to get the parts right and they nailed it. These are talented musicians, got a skilled frontman, and then the way leading things forward. We're going to take a look through the lyrics, and then we're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. So while I'm here, apparently lyrics from Huang Xuan. The composer was Huang Xuan as well. The producer was Yu Xiaolun and Huang Xuan. And the arranger is Yellow. So there are a few people involved in this, including the additional instrumentalists as well. But this being the review of Yellow's No Light Club. So we're going to look through the lyrics. Now, let the killer go, roll the dice and ride the boogie. Roll the dice and ride the boogie. Life is the most extravagant drift you'll only understand only after you've drifted. The man in sheep's clothing murmurs alone. The sound of vintage discs with jumping needles fills the air, ordering a cup of mediocrity. The man and the woman are both afraid of the dawn. Keeping it warm won't make us cold, at least. It's a good night. Let's get drunk tonight. Looking back, the candlelit is fighting with just a pair of watchful eyes. Similarities down the street for you, and similarities, mutual love, loneliness is an aesthetic. Doesn't really split to obvious time. Let's be fools for once. Tonight we won't say goodbye. Okay, No Light Club. All right, this one's a bit of a tricky one. There's a bit of poetry in there. We're going to talk about this more in the conclusion. So welcome to the conclusion, my review of this track from an act named Yellow, titled No Light Club, as I understand it. Now, what do I think the song is about? I think that it's about someone who is basically, I suppose, allowing themselves to be a bit less intelligent that night, allowing themselves to not overthink things and just be in the moment there. They're looking at all the people around them as sort of extras. And you get the impression that we're trying to almost sort of look at happiness and relativity and you look at the man in wolf's clothing and stuff like that, and people who have maybe played games have ended up alone and such, and to just kind of get lost into life and try and give it our best shot as well. Happiness is the most beautiful plot. You can't take it away. It's like you have to let go of things and just try and enjoy it while it lasts. And then basically again, the line about ordering a cup of mediocrity. The man and the woman are both afraid of the dawn. Keeping it warm won't make us cold, at least. If it's a good night, let's get drunk tonight. So is it about just accepting the mediocrity in a sense, but then allowing us to get drunk to be able to enjoy that regardless, not trying to have over realistic expectations of what our existences will be like together or apart? I'm not sure, but either way, I think it was a really interesting track with a really great story. The vocals from Yellow are wonderful. I think that we absolutely smashed it out of the park with the way that we expressed ourselves. The performance was charismatic and engaging, and it just, you were just caught from the moment you heard it. They've just got a really way with words, and the way we sang as well were really articulate and elegant in our hidden chest voices. The vocal technique was on point there, lots of legato passages, a little bit of vibrato occasionally. Great control of dynamic range there, some interesting sort of jazzy phrasings there. Almost sounded like kind of a swinger or lounge singer again from the early 20th century there. Very authentic to the mood of the piece and the arrangement behind it. Ultimately, it was just everything was niched well together, and the vocals were the highlight here. Although, to be fair, there are some other really wonderful instrumental performances which we'll talk about after this, but it's just, we told the story in a way which gave it even more authority and importance than might have it already, because of the amount of love and care we put into trying to make it special for the listener. I understand that apparently this was a little bit different for people at the time that it came out, but I think that it's wonderfully unique, and quite honestly, I think that the only way for music to really grow and develop is to challenge the expectations that we have of it, regardless of the genre that it's in. I think it's important to take risks and, just be true and authentic to yourself as a creative, and that's what Yellow is doing here. And it's clear that everyone else that's, playing alongside Yellow enjoys them being kind of directing things. And I think it's just, it's really well done. There were some really cool melodies within the vocal performances there. We had the instruments providing harmonies to that. There was lots of range there. We knew when to sort of step back and come forward and like belt and such. There was some interesting belts. And yeah, it was stunning. And we navigated the complicated arrangements, the chord progressions, the extensions there and stuff really elegant as well without overshadowing anything when it needed to solo. But the track itself at 4 minutes 31 is really well laid out there. It's not just that we have a full-bodied performance from the keys, the organs, the guitar, the bass, and the drums, but it's also that there is so much compositional diversity within it. We have the drums start things off, and then we come in with the guitars and the bass lines and everything like that, so we're increasing the amount of layers as we go along. The keys don't really come in a bit later on, but we have enough for the verses and the choruses and such. Although this could also have been through composed. I get the feeling that this might actually have been through composed. We might have had similar... Actually, no, it was through composed, because we did have like several different sections with different ideas. We had varying intensities dynamically. And it was just the fact that the transitions between sequences and sections were so slick. You know, they were so smooth, not only because we could play our instruments really well, but also because of the chord choices and transitional parts we made therein to not make it as blunt when we moved. I think it was a journey from start till finish celebrating swing and jazz as a genre from these musicians who are clearly adept at performing it and writing it, and I think that ultimately it's just very authentic to its roots, whilst also allowing a platform to Yellow to be themselves and to speak their truth on. And it was incredibly colourful and vibrant and full of life and vigour, and it was very well played. I think if I talk about a few of the instruments that I really appreciate here, the drum work with the rim shots, most of the rims, and then the snare patterns with the kicks and the cymbal parts as well. You know, a lot of it was rim shots, and I'm not necessarily used to that. I don't always advocate that either, but for me personally, I think that it had this fantastic sense of groove to it with the swing triplets, and it was percussive and it had an interesting sort of rapacious tone to it that really did kind of catch. It was eye-catching immediately. There's just a solid groove to it from the start of the track there that allowed Yellow to come in as almost a secondary consideration and then take over the reins quite effortlessly. Played incredibly tightly. We knew when to step back a bit and have less drums. We knew when to have more, but it was all about moving forward, providing a ground bed for the harmonic elements and other rhythmic elements such as the bass. And we just knew how to be a part of the band and to play the tone and the key. And the bass line that we had there was great as well. Like, it was relatively subtle for a lot of it, but we did explore the scales and modes at certain bits when there was space to do so, like later on in the piece there when we were trying to further develop and sort of like spice it up a little bit. We didn't have any sort of we didn't have any explicit bass solos, but we did have a bit of movement in that mid-range there that spiced things up a little bit and was a nice floor to some of the guitar stuff that was going on. The guitar work was wonderful. Like, it was incredibly well voiced there. That first solo section that we had was masterful in the way we flew around the fretboard there, working our way between various scale shapes like the major and minors, the pentatonic, some of the bluesy stuff, doing some modulations, chromatic shifts and such, bends and slides and hammer-ons and pull-offs and stuff like that, working our way up and down the almost sweep picking in parts there. We just were incredible lead guitarists, and I ought to be very proud of himself this performance here. It's very difficult for those notes to come through cleanly at this level, especially with the intricacy of the percussion there, you know, and the bass lines and the fluidity and the expanse of the vocal parts there. You've really got to try and find your niche and not try and overwhelm things further, but we did that here. And the chord progressions that we did play there complemented, and were a nice contrast, should I say, to the solo part, where the solo was quite intricate, the chords. We knew to do slides occasionally, we knew to sort of strum the chords and do staccato-ish movements with those extensions in the bars. And yeah, we also occasionally just had no guitar at all either. It was just the bass and drums there to allow more room for the vocals to breathe. The keys that we had later on were very minimalist. We had some glissandos there down par, and we had some articulations and some interesting attacks on those with kind of slower rises in those pad-like sequences. I think that for putting it forward, it's a case where the key player knew that they needed to add a bit of mid to high range resonance in there and further enhance what was going on with the guitar parts, but like not in a way where it overshadowed them. And so I think they were there to reinforce the triads or provide a softer tone or texture to the mix in amongst what was going on with the guitars and the bouncier drum parts and stuff like that. They were niched on top of the bass easily. So I think that with that in mind, it was more of an organic performance where Yellow was allowed to shine and really sort of flex themselves a bit. And we had the case where the guitar, the bass drums, and the keys, along with the way the vocals were performed as well as the lyrics, they came together in a, not, as I mentioned before, a tribute to the genre, but also in a way that I think made it attractive to people who weren't necessarily as familiar with it. You know, it sounded enjoyable. It didn't sound like it was sort of inaccessible. It wasn't pretentious. Sometimes you come across tracks and it just seems like it's, this is going to potentially tilt a few people, but it can seem like it's complicated for the sake of being complicated here. No, there was technicality here, but it wasn't overdoing it. It was trying to be something that people could listen to and enjoy at the same time. And I think that that's a very difficult thing to pull off, but we accomplished it here. I think the joy, the movement of the drums there, the bass, etc. We talk about the boogie and everything at the start there, enjoying the boogie, rolling the dice and stuff like that. And it makes you want to dance in that swing fashion there with the jive of the drum kit and the quickness and the staccato parts of the guitar bits, as well as the thump of the bass and the keys accenting certain bits there, with the vocalist again being that wonderful presence in the center field. But the studio recording, mixing, mastering was icing on the cake there. We absolutely slammed it there. Very well handled in terms of the vocal presence. The tone of the drums from the start sounded organic, like they were in the same room performing together. You had the similar room sound across it, which made it more cohesive in regards to the actual audio of it. You know, when people sound like they're in the same room, it feels a bit more real, because it is. But you know what I mean? You can tell they can actually play their instruments and handle things together, and they can interact with each other and stuff like that, and they're professionals. I think that how things were niched within the frequency spectrum and the stereo field is another example of just how well the studio did things in that regard. There, the leveling was effortless and flawless. The vocals were wonderful. They didn't sound overproduced. We had a bit of vocal fry occasionally, but they were still handled really well. I do want that microphone. I really think that microphone the guys got's really cool. I like it. Maybe it's just because it's a black microphone that's kind of beastie, but still, you know what I mean? Like it looks like a dope microphone. It sounds great. There was dynamic range. Things were not the same loudness all the time, but it was still nice and loud without pumping to the bus compression limiting were handled. I mean, effectively, this is just a very it's got a warm glow to it as well, I should add there. I think because we weren't trying to sterilize the mix and the master, it doesn't seem like it's too clean sounding. There's a bit of kind of like there's a glow to it because we tried to capture it as one sort of live take there, and you can get that in the production as well as the actual performance itself. But that's my review of this track from an act named Yellow, titled, what was it titled as? No Light Club, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SC Patrons video. Spiderhands out.